Welcome to the night zone. Hear the warriors speak. Life's the battlefield and we ain't feeling weak. From love to the game and the power we seek. Our voice is strong, breaking every peak. Talk of love and battle scars, everything that's real. From touchdown to sermon, you know the deal. Strength in every word we begin to reveal. Truth in every tale as our lives we unveil. Talk of love and battle scars, everything that's real. From touchdown to sermon, you know the deal. Strength in every word we begin to reveal. Truth in every tale as our lives we unveil. Protect and provide, we're knights in the fray. Nothing off limits, we got something to say. Life and love, fitness and fight all day. Guys Night Podcast, let's ride the wave. Politics and prayers, ain't no subject.
I don't know how that's happening. It's got to be a setting on the camera. We'll have to look at that after this.
Yeah, if only we had like a resident director of photography or something like that.
Something like that.
Quiet, you guys. Just because I do photography doesn't mean anything.
Well, clearly.
I only do photography to get excuses to take pictures of chicks in their underwear.
Yes, I do. That's the main reason.
Fucking genius.
Hey, I got to see some boobies once in a while, for God's sakes.
Oh my god! All right, let's get this thing started. You guys ready?
Let's
Ready.
go.
Awesome.
Slap it. Slap. Do the clap.
Oh yeah. All right. Just to get the audio set. Sorry, guys. Greetings, everybody. Welcome to the Guys Night Podcast. I am Will McEwen, hosted here with Evan and David. Welcome, guys.
What's going on?
What up?
Well, how you guys doing?
Special guest tonight here in Medina. I actually came across them through a Facebook post that a new Jiu Jitsu clinic is opening up. And so, yeah, we brought the guys on board. To my left, I've got Chris and Dave. Welcome, gentlemen.
Hey, thanks for having us.
What's up?
And then to my right, I've got John.
Hey there.
So before we get started, let's just hear each a little about you, what your experience is, how to Elevate started it, obviously, and then, like your guys' overall experience. We talked quite a bit about what you guys did before. I know you guys are sharing a mic, so I apologize for that. Just if you want to take turns, you guys can pass it back and forth. But you know what? You guys wrestle. You guys are used to sharing things. So so let's start out with you, Dave. How did you get roped up into this? And was this on... Did you originally start the company, or was that a Chris thing and he brought you in? How did that come about?
So I took the coaching job at Highland High School.
You can pull that closer to you so you don't have to like lean out all crazy.
I took the coaching job at Highland High School. I needed some extra help. I had a mutual friend, Terrence Cheeks, and he introduced me to Chris. Chris took me out for a drink, and we talked about the idea of doing a wrestling club together. I love doing wrestling. It was a no-brainer for me. So that's really how we got it going. So he basically just had an idea for how to run the club, and I thought I'd be a good fit for doing the wrestling side of it, and we thought we could do it together.
That's awesome. Now, what's your experience as a wrestler? Because I think that's what people want to hear too, is just, obviously you don't just say, I'm going to be in a wrestling clinic one day. You've got some experience yourself, right?
Yeah, I was a high school state champion and a 4-time state placer, and then I was a Division I, 2-time All-American, and NCAA finalist. And then I wrestled after college on the Olympic scene for 6 years, and I was an Olympic alternate in 2016 and 2020.
Wow, that's impressive. So I know you did some stuff, but that's like that's not small stuff. So I look forward to hearing quite a bit about that. And then Chris, tell us a little about your experience, and then obviously you had the original vision of this. So.
Yeah. First off, thanks for having us. This is awesome. The studio is really cool, and they're very, very impressed. Really hope this takes off.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
But yeah, so like Dave said, we got connected through a mutual friend, Terrence. Terrence wrestled at Edinburgh. I worked with Terrence at Liberty Home Mortgage back in 2019, 2020 and stuff. So Terrence and I working together. When Dave took the head coaching job at Highland, I wanted to, join and stuff, help Dave out and stuff. And Highland already has they already had a pretty good team going into Dave coaching and stuff. And that, it's just something I wanted to be a part of, right? It's just hey, I want to help out as best I can. So I had the idea of creating something in Medina County, like a legitimate non-school affiliated wrestling program, right? Something that has nothing to do with Highland or Cloverleaf or whatever. That's just, hey, it's our own building. you don't need the janitor to open up the wrestling room for you, right? So, yeah, like one day Dave and I were just like kind of talking about it. We're like, hey, Dave, do you have any interest in this? Like, hey, if I write a business plan out for you, and I was like, hey, if we do this together, I run everything on the back end, you do the coaching. Is that something you'd be interested in? And he was like, yeah, sure. And I was like, okay, cool. Well, like, give me like a couple weeks and I'll come to you with a business plan. So like, I literally just went on like ChatGPT and I was like, hey, I want to make a wrestling club. These are my accolades. This is who I want to do it with. I need a business plan. What can you like spit something out for me? And it literally gave me like a 10-point plan with everything that I should be doing. And I'm like, wow, like why did I even get my college degree?
I didn't know that's how it started.
Like, what did I get myself into?
So I was like, okay, cool. Like did a little bit of research, like literally just printed it out. And after work, I would just work on the business, right? Just work on, hey, estimated, cash flow. I would look at, hey, how many people do we need in? How do practices work and stuff like that. And literally one day I was like, hey, I have it finished, Dave. Like, you want to go meet up? And we met up in that, like, I don't even know, the bar in Brunswick and just talked through it. And he was like, dude, this is great. Like, this is something we should do.
He's like, you're a genius. How did you figure all this out?
I was like, I totally did this all on my own.
I usually ask people like how they feel AI is going to affect their business in the future, but it's like in this case, AI started your business.
Yeah, it was, perfect, right? So like my background being in like mortgage banking and everything, like that was kind of the piece of the puzzle and stuff. So we went and took that, and that was, when did we meet? That was like August of 23, I think. Probably August of 23.
Yeah, sounds right.
So then we had the 23-24 wrestling season that we were just kind of like slowly building it and stuff. And then when we actually went and submitted our, our EIN and everything to actually get the business started, we were like, wow, like we have the social media now. We have everything up. We've told everybody about it. We had a ton of support. Like, and this, I do want to give a lot of like shout out and like appreciation for a lot of the community because, dude, like we had a lot of people, not just Dave and I, that helped create Elevate, like to make our dreams come true. It wasn't just Dave and I by any means, like our coaching staff, like a lot of people like the dads, like Sean, like helped us create the room and everything. So it was a lot of people like in our sphere that really helped build it for us. So like, I don't ever want to say, hey, this was just Dave and I, because it was, it took a village to really make this,
Well, we talk about it too all the time when we have, guests on the podcast. Like, it's really awesome when you have these different people on that are in these different sides of business, different hobbies. Like we just had Gabe from MK Airsoft on recently.
Yeah.
And it's awesome when you have these communities of people. We talk about Warehouse Gym all the time, and just the gym committee. We've had community bodybuilding. We just did a posing clinic yesterday with Center Stage Aesthetics out at Old School Iron in Cleveland. And the community of people, like if you're in the right communities, and I guess this is how you know you're in the right hobby too, right? Like if you're in a hobby or if you're in a job force or career that like people just enjoy like collabing and coming together and helping somebody else grow, and it's not like I don't want you to do well because I would like to do that and I didn't think about it first, so I'm not going to help you. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And it's awesome to hear that that's really kind of what helped you grow. And now, and I don't want to get away from that story, but I want to hear a little about Jon real quick. Jon, tell us about your accolades, what you've done in the past, and then maybe together you guys can share how this collaboration took place.
Yeah. Well, don't let Chris get away from it. He was a stud wrestler, All-American wrestler at Baldwin
I also
Wallace.
wrestled.
Yeah. Two-time national qualifier, All-American wrestler, stud. So as far as my background, same thing, started from wrestling. Started wrestling when I was 12. I was a state placer, and then I wrestled Division III Mount Union. I was a 2-time All-American for them, 3-time national qualifier. And then after that, I needed something to fill the void that wrestling left. I didn't want to get into coaching. I wanted to stay as close to being an athlete as I could. And I came back home. I found Evolve MMA that was out on Route 18 for a while. And I walked in there and got introduced to jiu-jitsu, and they just said, hey, you wrestled in college, give it a shot, see how it goes. And I just stuck with it. And I you know, just through finding jobs after college, I would go away from it, come back to it, go away from it, come back to it. But then a couple belt promotions here and there, and I love the sport. It's great. I sometimes compare wrestling to jiu-jitsu. Like, wrestling is checkers, jiu-jitsu is chess. There's just a few more dimensions to it, and it's just a really fun puzzle to figure out. And it really helps to have a wrestling background going into jiu-jitsu. I did one amateur fight, just kind of to check it off the bucket list. I did that down in Columbus. That was just kind of for fun. A couple of the guys from the jiu-jitsu gym, a bunch of them helped me out, and so I got to check that off, say I did it, and then I said on the mic that night, I'm like, I'm retired, 1-0, baby. I'm out of here. I lost money to do this.
Right. So how did you guys collaborate? And then I guess because that's the big thing tonight. Like I said, I just found out you guys were about to open up jiu-jitsu here in Medina at the Elevate Wrestling Academy, right? So how did you guys meet? And then how did you guys decide to say, like, we need jiu-jitsu? Like, what happened first? Did you run into Jon first, or?
Yeah, so when Dave and I first, sorry, is this close enough?
Yeah,
you're
good.
fine.
Okay.
You're good.
Well, when Dave and I first started Elevate, I mean, going back to the business plan, we never wanted to take anything off the table from just making it exclusive to wrestling. So we always had the aspirations of saying, hey, you know, we have the space, we have the time frame to do it. I don't want to just say, hey, we're only going to do wrestling. That's all we're going to do. There could be a reality in which we do jiu-jitsu, gi, no gi, boxing, Muay Thai, MMA. Like, none of that is off the table, right? So we're kind of thinking to ourselves almost, I mean, we opened up April 1st of 2024, right? So we're not a whole year into it.
Oh, wow. So the Elevate's only been around for about, it'll be a year and a month here.
Yeah, I mean, January of last year is when we kind of unraveled everything. We're like, hey, this is what we're doing. We're looking for a space. We signed our lease in March of 24.
Okay.
Opened up April of 24. So we're not even a full year into this.
Awesome.
But, you know, I think it might have been October of last year. Dave and I were talking. We're like, you know, I'm doing jiu-jitsu, not nearly to the level of Jon, but I enjoy it and stuff. And I was just thinking, like, you know, a lot of people like morning rolling sessions. They go in the mornings or they do the afternoon sessions. It's time, space that is not getting utilized, right? So Dave and I are just talking, like, you know, what if we just, instead of just waiting to do it, why don't we just do it, right? And like, a thing about me is, I don't know, like, if I have an opportunity and there's something that really excites me, I get hyper fixated on it, and I'm like, we're doing it. Like, we're gonna go all in on it. Yeah. Right. So I was just like, same thing when we started the business. I was like, I'm just gonna make a business plan. And I went to ChatGPT and I was like, hey, this is what I want to do. I want to add this in. What do I do? And everything, legitimately. And so they're like, okay, here we go. So basically we took the same schematic that we did with Dave being the head coach. And I was like, well, you know, we need somebody to be a full-time instructor, right? Someone who's legitimate, well-known, and can do these, you know, and commit to these times. I didn't really know anybody. Dave has some connections and everything, but I did kind of the same thing. Like, how Terrence connected Dave and I just went through my phone and I was like, and I texted all my buddies like, hey, this is what I'm doing. Does anybody know anybody who could help? And the one guy that connected us was his teammate in high school, Jaleel, and my teammate at BW. So I just texted Jaleel. I was like, hey, do you know anybody? Blah, blah, blah. And he's like, I know Jon. And I was like, dude, that's awesome. Like, and I knew Jon too, like, not like personally. Because, you know, BW were Division III, Mount Union Division III, so we knew probably of each other, never met in person, but I always knew of Jon. It's like, this is perfect, right? Like, you know, he's a local guy. I just want to talk to him, see if he's interested. Shot him a text, got on the phone. He was like, absolutely, let's do it. You know, so that was probably December.
Yeah.
Probably December.
Yeah.
Wow.
Just a few months ago.
Yeah.
And then we really built, so all three of us really built out this program to create Elevate Jiu-Jitsu, right? Because like how the practices would be, how it would look like, you know, what is an ideal business model for this and stuff. And it was actually kind of easy because we already had everything built out with the Wrestling Academy already. So it's kind of plug and play, really. And having Jon's just really good at jiu-jitsu, like exceptionally good. So he brings in that factor too. So, having him on there now, we're starting March 15th is our first practice. So it's been a lot of just marketing the last 2 months, really.
That's awesome. So, and you guys all have, it's funny because you guys just roll off your accolades like it's not a big deal, but 2-time All-American, 2-time All-American,
1-time All-American,
2-time. Like that's like not a small feat. That's pretty impressive.
NBD.
Thank you.
So it's cool to hear how this kind of story came along because you guys are all young guys, and obviously it's not like you just had an idea, right? And that's how quick an idea can come in and grow something. So when you guys mention, when you say club, right? You and I used to work out at the same gym. Do you guys run it similar to that? Like if somebody wants to scan and come in, they can do after-hours sessions, or do you guys run it as you have dedicated times in place for people to be able to come in and wrestle or practice and things like that?
Yeah, dedicated times, right? I mean, that's how like when we started Elevate, I mean, that's kind of like how Jiu Jitsu is already ran, right? Where you have an instructor and they run it, you run through a session, and then that's it, right? So we have our different sessions because we train for wrestling ages 6 to 19.
Okay.
So we'll do like a beginner youth session, kids who have no experience to very little experience. And then we run our experience groups as well. So that could be anywhere from, 6 to 19 years old, anyone who has, more, at least 2-3 years experience minimum.
Right.
So we'll get a diverse group in our experience groups. Like, we could have anywhere from, like I said, the 6 to 19 year olds from, middle school, high school, et cetera, and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, again, maybe one day we need a bigger space, but again, nothing's off the table. Like, I don't know if we necessarily want to build a gym out or anything like a workout gym.
No, I don't even look at it like that. I think about it as, being a young kid and like wanting to get into wrestling. Like, yeah, you can wrestle after practice, but it's like, where do you go wrestle after that? Like you can wrestle in your living room, but it's not on a mat. It's completely different, right? You can wrestle in your basement, obviously not the same. So when you mentioned club, I was like, oh, is this like a space where like if you're a kid who's addicted to wrestling and you just want to go get some time and away in a gym, can you just go and get into your guys' club at like 7 o'clock? They clock in and you're able, and you can see that who came in. Is that like a membership, or have you guys ever thought about doing something like that?
We're on a membership. It's kind of hard though, like because you need a dedicated coach,
or you need somebody there to make sure somebody doesn't like strangle somebody out. Yeah, and I guess that's what I was curious about because I was like, I guess insurance would make it kind of tough, but at the same point in time, like somebody could get squashed by a squat rack at a gym just as easy as somebody could get choked out wrestling. As long as you have cameras and things like that there. Is that something you could ever see it becoming where you're like, hey, let's offer these kids like for $40 a month, they can come in and grapple with themselves for, unlimited? Or is that ever something you thought about?
I probably would say no. I wouldn't want that personally. I mean, if it was something where like, if it's a private session where, John, hey, there's a 19-year-old kid who's really big into jiu-jitsu and just wants to only go with John.
Right.
Yeah, like that could be something. That's
like a one-on-one.
Yeah, like
thing.
A private session.
No, and that makes sense. I just, 24-hour gyms have become the new thing. Everybody's doing them.
Yeah. And
I wasn't sure if that was something that you ever guys thought about doing. So, and by the way, for you guys watching, you don't know why there's a baseball bat on the table. One of the 6 men at this table is going to break this later using their legs for the most part. Am I correct in saying that?
One of the 6.
One of the 6.
One of the 6. Can you guess which one it's going to be? I'll give you a hint. It's not me. But so stay tuned and check that out. We'll definitely make sure that hopefully it works. Right. Hopefully it breaks.
We're going to cut that part out.
All right. So where do you guys want to start? The jiu-jitsu part comes on now, but I'd like to hear about, the idea of wrestling. So how about let's start with you, Dave, and just talk about like your experience. Cause the idea that you were training for the Olympics, like that had to be intense and awesome at the same point in time. And you went as an alternate. So you actually got to travel in 16. I'm trying to think. That'd be Winter Games, right?
No, it's the Summer Games.
Is it Summer Games?
Yeah.
Summer Games. Okay. See, it's crazy. I just don't know much about wrestling in the Olympics. Let's hear about that experience.
I did not get to travel to it. So that's the one thing that it kind of stinks. Like I didn't get to go to Brazil or Japan for the competing. But yeah, I went to the University of Michigan. That story is kind of funny in of itself. I just lost in the national finals, and I saw the Michigan coaching staff in the back warm up area, and I just started talking to him.
This is at high school nationals?
No, college.
Oh, college. Okay.
Yeah, I lost in the finals in overtime, and I saw the coaches over there and just started talking to them randomly. And I was like, "Yeah, I want to come train there." And yeah, they followed up with me. And Andy Rovat's actually a guy from Cleveland. He went to St. Ed's, and he was an Olympian in 2008, and he's also Slovenian. So one thing I left out, I didn't mean to, but I have dual citizenship with Slovenia.
Really?
So I wrestled for Slovenia, actually. So
No kidding.
yeah. So it created a unique opportunity for me. I looked at the University of Michigan. They have a lot of good guys around my weight. And in wrestling, there's RTCs, regional training centers.
So I apologize. I'm going to cut you off just because I think we need to hear. So you wrestled where at in high school?
St. Ignatius.
You went to St. Ignatius. Okay,
Yeah.
let's start there and let's kind of talk about your journey up. You don't have to go into like every year and stuff like that, but so because you're talking about Michigan, so obviously you went to Michigan is where you went to wrestle D1.
I went to Edinburgh.
Oh,
But
Edinburgh.
after college, I went to Michigan to train as an RTC athlete,
Okay.
So-
and what is a RTC athlete?
regional training center.
Okay.
So rather than going to the Olympic Training Center in Colorado, a lot of these college universities now have regional training centers. The school, like they raise money and they pay the regional training center a stipend to train. It benefits the college kids because obviously the guys training for the Olympics are good. And then it also helps us because it's not like you can just find good wrestlers for us to train with either. So it's mutually beneficial.
Sure, absolutely. So that's what you started doing after college, is you started going to this training. So was at that point you were like, I don't want to stop wrestling, that's why I'm going to go here, or was the goal like maybe I want to be into coaching, or what was the vision when you just started talking to these guys and decided to go up there and train?
It was very impulsive. So I actually had a
It's
job.
like I was 22 and I didn't want to get a job yet.
I got a job. So I was always told that, basically just from everybody I talked to, they just said like, after wrestling, you have to get a real job or something. That's what they'd always tell me. So I listened to that, and I never planned to wrestle after college. My senior year, something started to really click for me. And my main thing was I just wanted to see how good I could get at wrestling. And I don't think that I really got that answer that I wanted, but at least I dedicated 6 years to it. But I felt like my senior year, I was like, I'm definitely not at where I can be. And I was like, I want to see how good I can get at wrestling. So I actually had a job interview and I was going to take it. And it was through a wrestler. And it would have been in Columbus, Ohio. So that was great. But I saw this Flow Wrestling like pay-per-view match. It was Franklin Gomez and Brett Metcalf. They're both NCAA champions. Brett Metcalf was dominant in the USA for a long time, and but he didn't have any world medals. Franklin Gomez wrestled for Puerto Rico. He's from Puerto Rico, and he got a world silver medal. So I started thinking, I was like, well, I have citizenship in Slovenia. I was like, I can move there. Then I watched the preview for that pay-per-view event, and he said he trained at Penn State. And I was like, okay. I was like, I have a passport. I can go train at Penn State and wrestle for Slovenia.
Yeah.
So I did that. But I went to Michigan. So, so yeah.
Geography. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's basically why I wanted to keep wrestling. After college, it was pretty cool. More than even out of high school, I had a bunch of colleges hit me up for college coaching opportunities.
Really?
Yeah, and other RTC opportunities, and I'm happy with the decision that I made at the time. My logic was I looked at Team USA and I looked at the guys that medaled. Everybody was a dedicated like athlete only RTC athlete, not a coach, and because you can be a volunteer coach, which is like the lowest level coaching position. And they want you to compete because that's like attractive. Like, hey, we have this guy and he's yeah. But the results really weren't there. But the plus side to that is you're getting your foot door in with coaching. So like one of the schools that I talked to was Virginia. Like I could have been a coach there, competed, and then when I'm done competing, I'm a coach still. When I was done competing at Michigan, I wasn't a coach. So
Right.
Obviously, I could have went back into the carousel or whatever you want to call it, but yeah, I just wanted to keep going, and yeah, work didn't sound fun. Wanted to keep competing.
So you mentioned wrestling for Slovenia. So did you move to Slovenia then?
No.
No, you just wrestled for them. So you did
Yeah.
all your training here in the States.
Yeah. Kind of double dipping, getting both.
Yeah.
Is that like is one of your parents born there? Is that how that-
So grandparents, but I'm 75% Slovenian though. So my mom's 100%. My dad's 50.
Okay. So if dual citizen comes up with, is that one of the countries that allows you, based off of your family heritage, to become a
Your grandparents have to be born, but my kids can because I got citizenship. My kids can as well.
That's cool.
So.
Yeah, because I think there's like 5 or 6 countries that are like that. I think was it Italy and Greece maybe are both like that. I'm not sure, but
UK,
Yeah.
Canada, US.
yeah.
How wrestling in Slovenia is.
What?
Wrestling in Slovenia.
Yeah, I was gonna say. So
Yeah.
did you actually do any wrestling out of country then?
Oh, I mean, I've been like looking at that map. I've been to 26 different countries, and I mean, some of them I've been to so many times.
Out of the 26 countries, what was your favorite one?
My favorite is America. That's a true statement.
try. Yeah.
Hey, things are tense with deportations right now. So let's give my man a break here.
No, Cleveland's home to me. It's my favorite place. But to give a more interesting answer, my second pick is Slovenia.
Yeah.
But a couple cool places I went to. I liked Istanbul, Turkey a lot.
Ooh.
And I liked Moscow, Russia a lot.
Yeah. So you got to spend some time in Russia.
Yeah.
That's pretty.
Yeah,
awesome.
I went to Dagestan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude,
That's
that's crazy, man.
All those crazy Russians are.
Yeah. So what is it like? Like, how? First of all, how does that come about? Like, how do you end up traveling these places to wrestle? Like, are you just signing up for like tournaments over there, or?
No, I wouldn't have been capable of doing that. So,
So you're going over there with the team, basically.
No, so that was very unique in that sense. So I'll answer the first. Both those questions are good. So first of all, I trained at Michigan. I had a lot of help between like the NYAC, which is the New York Athletic Club. They fund for all kinds of athletes I think all over the world actually, but mostly the U.S. I had the coaches at Michigan. Andy Rovat was the dedicated RTC coach. Michigan was really excited for me to train there with their guys, and they had other RTC athletes, but wrestle for Slovenia. So Andy helped me out a lot with that, and then Slovenia helped out a lot too. But there's like events, just like you would for like youth wrestling. There's events that you go to. There's ranking tournaments and stuff. Obviously, you're going to go to the Continental Championships and the World Championships. The rest of it, there's just like tournaments with good reputation, and you pick them and you do a training cycle and you go.
That's awesome.
Yeah. The second part of you asked if I travel with the team. No, it was me and Andy Rovat. So lots of good stories, but a lot.
So
of
are you like staying in hostels and stuff like that, or were they setting you up in hotels? Or
we were in nice hotels. There was some joke along the way with hostels. Me and Andy were talking about hostels and how cheap they are and everything. But no, we had our situation was good, but like. I was so jealous of USA because like we'd be at like the World Championships and they have like a masseuse, they have all this stuff, they had all these resources, and it was like me and Andy. It was just like me and this guy, Andy, like nothing else. They had everything, and they had drill partners. Like something really unique that I got to experience is like you got people that like they'll complain about like their drill partner in their room. Okay, I would go to like a tournament in like Turkey or Hungary or something. Like I have to grab some dude from another country. They don't speak English.
Yeah.
So it's hard to communicate with them. So like I'm warming up with this guy from India, and like the thing is it always works out.
Yeah.
Right? But like I can't talk to him at all. We're not organizing a warm up here. It's
Right.
just like
like you guys are literally just wrestling?
Straight to fighting.
there was a guy that I warmed up with he wrestled for Slovakia, but he was Russian. He's wearing like outdated clothes, like Aeropostale. But he's wrestling in it. Aeropostale, like the dress clothes,
Oh my gosh.
He looks terrible at wrestling. He looks terrible. He doesn't even look like an athlete. But we started wrestling, and he's very soft touch. And then like I would shoot, and like it was crazy. And I was like, "Are we going live? Are we drilling?" And I don't know how to talk to him at all. But it was like it's a different feel for sure. But like again, you figure out. So I was like, all right, I got to finish harder on this guy. And then I never knew when he was taking me down, like what level of effort to give him.
Right, yeah.
I was like, is this just how he warms up, or are we supposed to go pretty hard here? So
That's intense, man. Yeah. So then, obviously, you guys went. How did you guys find out know each other again? I forgot that part.
Through I went to college with this guy Terrence Cheeks, and
That's what
he
it was.
worked in the business with Chris.
Terrence Cheeks.
Yeah, great name. Great name, great guy.
So Chris, obviously, what were you were doing something on your own before coming up with Elevate, though, right? After high school and stuff like that, you got into the banking industry, correct?
Yeah, I graduated. It's funny, actually. I watched in the national finals, which was 2015. It was when Dave was wrestling at Edinburgh. I had money on Dave to win because he was a Cleveland guy, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" Like St. Ignatius, like I got money on Dave Habat, and he lost.
You could have DM'd me. I would have said, "Don't do that."
So it was really cool actually. Like because Dave is actually really well known in wrestling in general, but specifically in Northeast Ohio. He's a very well known guy. I mean, we don't have too many national runner-ups from Northeast Ohio. We do, but not every so often, right?
So when you say national runner-up, you're talking about college level.
College level.
But at Edinburgh, that's D1. And forgive me, I'm not familiar with that. But are you literally wrestling against the we talked about earlier, like Big Ten and stuff like that? And that.
Yeah.
So you were runner-up nationally across all the big wrestling schools. That's impressive,
Undefeated
man.
against Iowa, undefeated against Ohio State. So
Wow, dude.
they didn't want me though.
Dude, that is crazy.
Yeah.
Super impressive, man. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut that off, but I think I misunderstood because like when I think of Division I, Edinburgh doesn't come to mind, but that's because of wrestling is different than football or basketball or any of those.
So yeah, just to sum it up, like it was just really funny when you're asking about the relationship. The first time I knew of Dave through high school because he was a state runner up too. So state champ, state runner up.
Really good at getting second place.
Hey, you're gonna make Dave leave now.
Sorry, bro. I'm just messing with you.
So I knew of him, and I'm sure you knew him too, John. Right?
Oh,
Like,
we were all watching Dave in the national finals, and we were like, Ohio, baby, let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like that was 2015. Edinburgh took third.
Yeah.
Oh, they had killers.
yeah.
They had killers.
So Ohio State won, and then Iowa, and then it was Edinburgh who took third, which is insane because like Edinburgh, like you're saying it right now. Edinburgh is not really known for that, right?
Yeah, and high school wrestling very limited 20 years ago, but I know everybody knows Iowa and Ohio State when it comes to wrestling. It surprised me to hear school. Where's Edinburgh even at?
It's Western PA by Erie. Okay. So it's actually closer than Ohio State.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's
closer than
super
Ohio
close.
State.
Is it still a pretty relative wrestling school or not? So because I'm sure with a school like that, it fluctuates based on who goes there.
So they've always had a good program. We had when I was there, we had the best program we've ever had, and it was really good right before. And we had a really good team right after. The coaches left. Long story short, the coaches left. It's not what it was. I still support the program, and it's very hard now with the NILs and everything. It's hard. to get
I can imagine because I don't even think about NIL when it comes to wrestling, but I'm sure it does.
Yeah,
and you're just not going to compete with Ohio State or an Iowa when it comes to that.
Oh yeah, I mean, like these college kids. I mean, I don't even know what the dollar figure was, but you have a lot of these kids coming out of high school now with multi-million dollars.
They're talking six figures, even.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. 7 figures
in wrestling.
Yeah.
See, and that goes back to that community though, because we talked about it too. Like wrestling's like a generational sport. So like if you were somebody that was good at wrestling at Ohio State, like you're a multimillionaire or billionaire in today's world, like you're gonna want them to make sure they stay on top. Whereas how many people went to Edinburgh, wrestled, and I mean, you just don't have the same generational lineage that you're following there in order to keep up with that NIL. But I wouldn't. It's crazy to think if you're that good, if you're Iowa and you're Ohio State, like the chances are you're gonna have a ton of people that can invest in that NIL that the other schools just don't have. So just be great forever.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know to get David Taylor, like what was their. But I don't even know how much he was getting. Millions, right?
Yeah.
Really? Who's David Taylor? I can maybe.
Olympic medalist, multiple-time world champ.
Olympic champ.
Yeah. Just everything
So
you can win.
Ohio
guy.
guy.
Ohio guy, yeah.
Is he really? What part of Ohio?
I went to St. Paris Graham.
St. Paris Graham, South.
West.
So he's out of college now. Then obviously he's wrestling that.
He's now Oklahoma State's head coach. He took over for John Smith, who's six-time world and Olympic champ. So he's following John Smith's footsteps at Okie State.
Wow.
And it's I mean,
So you're
they're
saying
taking
if
off.
he was coming out of high school now as a wrestler for NIL, like, yeah, holy smokes, dude, that's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wrestling's had this really cool evolution over the last couple of years. I mean, I would say though, like we've talked about this before, how jiu-jitsu, the evolution of jiu-jitsu and wrestling, because they get compared a lot and everything. I think there's a lot of things that wrestling community can learn from jiu-jitsu, and from a technical standpoint, but also from a marketing standpoint too. Because we talk a lot about how wrestling is, quote unquote, like a poor man's sport and everything. Like, you could wrestle in your backyard with somebody else, right? So there's that aspect. Jiu-jitsu does a lot better job, I think, of the marketing and a lot better job of like the promotion of entrepreneurship and stuff to really, really promote it.
I think the other aspect is too, it's funny because, nowadays, especially with Rogan, obviously Rogan's a big proponent of jiu-jitsu. He's really made a name for the sport on his own and the MMA and everything. But even he talks about how like wrestling is the core to everything. Like you could take a boxer, and in order to make him, to learn jiu-jitsu is there's no shot of him being a dual threat really, unless he spends years and years. So these kids that are like going through high school being core wrestling and then stepping into jiu-jitsu just makes them even more dangerous, obviously. But you're right in the sense that wrestling doesn't. Wrestling, you think about 16-year-old kids wrestling on a mat, spending their whole time in doggy style position, like trying to like take down each other, basically. It's not like you're gonna have a lot of women in that sport. I'm sure there's some, like in others.
It's actually the fastest growing
Exploding,
sport right now in the country is
Really?
women's wrestling.
Really,
Yep.
that's
It is.
impressive.
Iowa has a women's program. Tons of Division III, programs have it. It's growing exponentially. Yeah,
That's
I
impressive.
do see a lot of women at Old School Iron doing the sport.
Oh, do it.
Yeah, they have it at Old School. Yeah.
Jiu-jitsu or
Yeah,
something.
they have it.
Yeah. So for jiu-jitsu, I could see it. For whatever reason, it seems like the sexier sport. But wrestling is really the core. So, sorry to cut you off. It's just, you're right. It's the way that they're marketed. Wrestling's not marketed as an adult thing. I guess that's the way to put it. You know what I mean? Like, it's not wrestling as like, hey, you're 42 years old. You want to go out, get in shape. Go wrestle. Like, here's a wrestling clinic.
That's always been an Achilles heel of wrestling, unfortunately, where, it's a very difficult sport in general. So, like, it's harder on your body, like, because you're in a stance. It's very hard. Like, you shoot in, you fall the wrong way, you get hurt, right? It's not always the easiest. Where jiu-jitsu, like, you can go a little bit slower, especially in gi and stuff. You can do a lot more in guard and stuff where it takes a little bit more time. And you can really play around in the position. With wrestling, it's just go, go, go. You know what I mean? So you get in a shot and like we're trying to finish like in 15 seconds, like right away.
Right.
Jiu-jitsu, we might play around in a position for a while. And Jon
There's
can
attacks
probably,
and counters for days.
Yeah.
It's
And Jon can
unlimited
talk
with the
way
right
better
person.
about that, So like, the comparison, right, between BJJ and wrestling, right? Jiu-jitsu's it's easier on your body.
Yes. Yeah. And again, that's opinion based. Some people, it depends on a person's pace, but, just thinking back to wrestling practices, it's rep after rep after rep, cutting weight, wearing sweats. It's very rigid. Whereas jiu-jitsu, it's a little more free flowing. There's different styles of wrestling. There's folk style, which is what you think of with college, high school wrestling. There's freestyle, which is what Dave alluded to on the international scene. There's Greco-Roman as well, which is all upper body. Think like judo without the gi. But jiu-jitsu has different styles too. You've got no gi, you've got gi, and there's different paces that go with that. No gi could be harder on your body than the gi because there's a lot more wrestling involved in no gi. It's very attractive for wrestlers to come over to no gi initially because the gi has a lot more traps. You can pull the gi out, you can tie it, you can wrap it around their legs. You can get collar chokes with the gi. There's just a lot more traps that you can set.
So for those that aren't familiar, what is a gi exactly?
So think of like a traditional kimono, you could even call it. It's a very heavy woven material that you've got a top, a jacket, and then you've got pants as well, and you tie it with a belt. The belt is going to be your rank, white, blue, purple, brown, black. But there's different companies that make different gis that are different weights, different styles. But yeah, it's. I mean, it almost looks like pajamas.
Yeah. I was trying to pull it up on the screen over there, but yeah, I mean, it's something similar to like to karate.
Yeah, like a traditional martial art uniform. Yeah.
So
Judo wears they wear gis as well. Same type of material.
Yep. So a lot more difficult in that sense, as far as like in the gi, it's more tough. You would say?
I guess again, it kind of goes back to pace. But when I think of the gi, I think that I need to be more measured, because they're gonna be, if I took someone down and I'm in their guard, they're working from bottom, they can reach up and grab a collar to break my posture. Their legs are gonna be trying to elevate me over my head. They may try to sit me back. You can actually, from your butt, you can trip someone just by putting so if they're standing in front of me and these are my feet, I can just flare my feet and push them, and they will fall to their butt, and I just have to get up, and I just essentially took them down.
Right.
And that's a really cheap way to score points in the gi, but wrestlers aren't aware of it. People aren't aware of it. It just depends how you set it up. And in the gi, it can be easier to do some of those tricks, because I could grab their collar, pull them, they're going to react and back up a little bit more, and then I can kind of kick their feet out. Yeah.
Interesting.
Whereas the gi, you don't have those grips. It's more wrestling.
So obviously, with you guys being in this together, have you guys both picked up jiu-jitsu? Or are you starting to? You mentioned doing a little bit before.
Yeah,
Chris.
like my jiu-jitsu journey has been like a little weird, just because I've never really stayed committed to one place. I've moved around, and I had a kid and stuff, so it's like it's hard to dedicate as much time to one specific place. So I've jumped around a couple different places, but like
selfishly, then this is pretty great for you.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
I saw you there on day one. So.
Yeah, 100%. So it's like it is more convenient for sure. But yeah, I mean, like, so I've been doing it for off and on for the last 2 years, but probably in the last 6 months, I've been way more committed to doing jiu-jitsu, like with Jon and stuff. Jon's a wealth of knowledge with jiu-jitsu, but, just trying to learn as much as I can. I'm not like maybe try to compete and stuff eventually, but it's really just trying to build up this, this school of jiu-jitsu right now with Jon.
For sure. And Dave, any experience with you? He's like, fuck that shit.
No, I love jiu-jitsu. I'm a huge fan of MMA and stuff. There's a lot of things that I like about jiu-jitsu, probably more than wrestling. I haven't really done it that much, grab people and screwed around with it a little bit. But it's like any time that I have that's free, it's my choice or other people's choices. It always goes to wrestling. I feel like even if I went to a jiu-jitsu gym and went to do jiu-jitsu, somehow they'd get me, hey, you're a wrestler, like, let's wrestle. I gotta work on it. I even did a technique thing with these, it's called BJJ Fanatics, and they like wrestling for the takedowns and stuff, and the guy was having me show him, like, rather than me learn some jiu-jitsu, like, I was showing him takedowns and stuff so he could get ready for his tournament. So I love it. But yeah, it's like anytime that I have that's free, it's like I'm coaching wrestling or I'm helping someone with wrestling, or again, it's probably my fault too. I gravitate towards wrestling more, but I feel like once I go to a gym one time and do it, I'll probably get hooked.
Do you have in your wrestling program, I guess, sort of like how you lost wrestling as adult life kicked in? I guess that makes me wonder, like, is there anybody in your program that are in their 40s? Like, any old people come along and just say, oh, I'm going to dust that skill off and see how that works?
We had one guy reach out to Chris he wanted to set up a private lesson, and I said, sure. I mean, like, nothing weird's going to happen here. If there's I can handle myself, but he didn't follow through. But no, it's marketed more towards because in wrestling, and I think it can change, but the motivation for wrestling now, like, a lot of kids focus on being a high school state champion or state placer. Then they're hoping to get a college scholarship and go to college and get a degree, and that's usually about it. I guess now there's a couple more doors open with UFC, like with MMA and stuff, but those guys go to MMA gyms,
right?
They do it. So
yeah, I was just curious.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, nothing's off the table. If there was enough demand for like an adult wrestling session, we definitely have to cater it more toward like wrestle jutsu kind of, you know what I mean?
Well,
Something that's a little slower pace. Like, you know, if we did an adult wrestling thing, we're not going to make someone do wind sprints and stuff. You know what I mean? Like,
I mean, but maybe you should.
Ozzy,
Have
like-
you seen some of the adult 42-year-olds, dude? I think the weight and the weight to skill ratio is declining quickly amongst 40-year-olds.
50-year-old Johnny, you're like, oh yeah, I'm going to make him do wind sprints.
Yeah,
Come on, dude, you got to train.
Dude, that'd be great, man. I feel like people are looking for that stuff. I mean, you know, once again, it's one more thing that you guys could add to the ability is
could
like
be.
adult, even if it's just some kind of like, I mean, because everybody remembers what it was like going through high school wrestling train, like practice, like especially like the day or 2 days before
The cut.
when you were like, what? In fact, what is the craziest either of you guys have all had to cut?
Oh man,
Dave's gonna
Dave's
win
got
that,
Dave's got both of us beat, so you can tell your story.
Yeah. I have a bunch of them. The one that kind of, it's probably the best story, but I'm about the same size as I was in junior high. As a matter of fact, 8th grade year, I wrestled 146. And on the Olympic, when I wrestled on the Olympic level, the weight class is 143. So 3 pounds lighter. And that would, when I get down to 143, that was a lot of weight. In college, I wrestled 149. And I was cutting a lot of weight there. So my natural body weight was like 160, like in good shape. And the difference between college wrestling and the wrestling after is like, you don't wrestle in a season. It's like, there's like events. So it's like, you either have to be ultra disciplined and keep your weight down the whole time, or your weight's fluctuating. So I would weigh 160, I would weigh 170, and I got to wrestle 143. So I ran into a couple problems there. So the one story, I'll say that I was 160. Probably was a little bit more. I'll say 65. And I got down to 151. I was wrestling in this German wrestling league, Bundesliga. Good wrestlers over there. And it was awesome. You get paid like $1,000 a match. You know, it was hard for me though.
To win or just to compete in it?
Just to compete. And then they would throw you some bonus money and stuff too. It was awesome. But for me, it was so hard because two things. One is they wanted me training at Michigan. They're paying me a stipend too. So I had to keep flying back and forth to Germany. You know, these guys, they're local, a lot of them. Like, even if they live in another country like Poland, it's not that far.
Right.
So that, and then my weight. So the weight class was 145. So I got down to like 151, and I was like 6-7 pounds over. And the way I always describe it is when I got to like 150, 151, that's where I started to feel like death. Like I was done. So 149 is another pound or two. It's really not much. You could drift it off. You could go to bed and drift it. But 143, 145, that's another workout or two. So I have my wife drive me to the airport, and they messed my flight up. And that kind of messed everything up because I was planning on getting to Germany the day before at around 7 over, and I would have a plan of how to lose weight. Well, the flight's not till the next day, the same day that I'm competing. So we had to go back, and I'm like, I had 3 options. I was like, I could either have nothing at all until, oh my God, that would have been so hard. I would have had nothing at all, and I'm already dying. And when I get to Germany, I'm probably going to have to lose the weight. I could just say screw it and just try to lose like 12, 13, 14 more pounds, something like that. Or option was like kind of in the middle. And I went with the middle route. So I got to work out in that night. And then we flew out to Germany. I ended up being like 5-6 over. But like you get to the airport. That takes a while. You got to get to the venue. We're in this small town. So, I mean, I had to pull off like right after the flight. You know how long it is too. It was like 10, 12 hours of travel.
Yeah, for sure.
And I had to get off like 6.5 pounds, like with like no reason. There was like nothing there. There was no treadmill or like hot room. And I had to get all the weight off. And then the weigh-ins was 45 minutes too. Like I wrestled probably an hour and 15 minutes after I wrestled. And the guy I was wrestling was a 3-time world medalist.
Jeez. So you're like barely functioning as a human at this point.
The weight cut, it was the most brutal weight cut I had. I mean, it was. I mean, the most I've pulled off like 17 in a day. I mean, this was like pretty close to that actually.
Jesus.
Not when I say a day, I mean 24 hours. Not like 7.
Yeah.
I mean, this was about 7 pounds, but 7 pounds I already had cut from like 65. I'm holding it. I'm holding it there. So the cuts so it's 20 pounds. But I'm holding it the whole time. Like I didn't plan to hold it that long. Yeah. And then I had like an hour 15 weigh in, and then I ended up beating the guy who won. And then
holy shit.
Then they got me a freaking Das Boot beer. like here, you don't go wrestle like Penn State or Iowa something after the match. Like you go to the back locker room, there's a beer. They're like, hey Dave, go to the locker room. I'm like, oh, why? They're like, we got you a beer. I was like, okay. And it wasn't just like a normal glass of beer. It was like enormous. And it was a boot. And then we had food after and stuff. But it was one of the coolest experiences. But the weight cut was insane. And then actually I told them too, I said, I'm not going to warm up. This was like an American thing I learned. I was like, I'm not going to do the warm up after weigh-ins. I'm like, part of me cutting the weight, and it was like down to the last minute. I was like, this is the warm up. So I grabbed one of the guys, and he like, I was cutting weight, but I had like more weight to lose, and like that was the warm up.
Jeez, oh man, that's a lot of weight to lose in a well, not only lose it in a 24-hour period, because obviously there's a lot going on, but like the fact that you're in these flights and stuff like that, like I come out of a flight, I feel like I gain weight during a flight.
I'm
like,
trying.
It's like the water just like sucks out of the plane and enters your body, and you're like all bloated when you get off of the plane. So
thanks for adding that, because like I'm trying to articulate, because there's other stories I could tell you too where it's like and man, but like pulling off double digits weights in like a day. But that one was the hardest. I mean, it was like, again, like it was really a 20-pound cut. I got down to 6 or 7. And then it's like the flight was like 10 hours. You feel horrible. You can't sleep.
Surprised you didn't get sick as a dog after that, just because your immune system is being taxed.
What's the first thing you want to do after a 10-hour flight? Go to bed.
Yeah, of course.
I'm like, no, I have to go cut a bunch of weight still, and then I got to go wrestle this Bulgarian guy. Right?
But now it's a cool story because you won. Like if you would have done all that and then got your ass kicked and been like,
hey, still $1,000.
Yeah,
still $1,000. Yeah.
Because I had I want to say it was sophomore year, and it was to go to regionals, right? And for whatever reason, it was because the guy that typically wrestled 135 wanted to wrestle the 119 class, so that they asked me to drop to 112. And I was like a 128 who was riding like the 3 pound over or whatever it was come time regionals come around. Yeah. So like it was like a 16-pound cut. And I remember like the night before, like this is dead winter, obviously Ohio wrestling season. And I had like the trash bags on, had all that stuff. And I was like, I must have ice skated on the pond behind our house for like, I don't even know, like 2-3 hours, like to the point where when I got it off, like I just turned into like a huge icicle as I'm going into the house. And I was so weak. I could do like, it was a takedown match. Like the score was like 28-25 because I just did not have the energy to pick him, like to pin him, because he was so whirly and he was like a smaller kid, but I was stronger than him. So I could keep getting out and taking him down, but it was like the most exhausting thing.
Yeah. For
For you to do all that, to travel, and then it's not like you're just taking on some regular, high school kid. That's impressive, man. It's got to be intense for sure.
That's wild.
Yeah.
What about you?
As far as a weight cut?
Yeah, biggest weight cut you remember?
Well, mine was my own fault. I wrestled.
It seems like it's always your own fault.
So I wrestled 157 all 4 years of college, and my sophomore year was the toughest cut for me for whatever reason. I just I'm a string bean. I don't typically pack on a lot of weight, but for whatever reason, at that time I couldn't do it. So I checked my weight in the morning like we all typically do, and I'm like, wow, that says 8 over. Okay, we got to compete here in the next. I think we competed at like 2 p.m. It was like there was bad winter, snow days. We're canceling matches, so we had to reschedule one. And I basically just put headphones in, same thing, threw a bunch of sweats on, got on the treadmill, checked again, sat in the, cranked all the showers in the locker room, tried to get a sweat that way, and just tried to pour it out. I mean, as best I could. I made it, but I felt like absolute, dog crap the whole time.
You remember in high school on the way to the wrestling match, like everybody had like their gallon jug where they were spitting like the whole way to the match, like you're gonna spit out 3 pounds before you got there.
Yeah, I always tried, same thing with Dave, to stay within striking distance.
Yeah.
Don't go too far. And for whatever reason, that the night before, I only ate a piece of pizza, coach. I don't know what happened, and it was probably like the whole pizza. But.
Now, I want to know, what's the craziest opponents you have ever had to face?
The best person that I ever wrestled, his name is Nazar Kolchitsky. He's
a beast.
Oh my God,
Nazar killed me.
He was Ukrainian age group national champ multiple time. He came over to the United States and for some reason decided to wrestle Division III. And I met him in the finals of the Wheaton tournament, which is like our version of like the Midlands or the Southern Scuffle for Division III. It's the oldest, biggest non-national tournament, and I'm always confident going in. I always think I'm gonna win, but for that match, I was like, maybe not as much, not as much. But I want to see what.
Like I'm really trying to tell myself that I'm gonna beat this dude, but I also know that this dude should be wrestling like Division I, and it plays a part, sure.
But I wanted to see what I could do against him because he was the benchmark. He was he ended up being a 3-time national champ for Wisconsin Oshkosh, I think, and that's the benchmark. That's who I have to beat if I want to get that goal. So, but he fireman carried me to my back within the first 10 seconds. I lost 13-1. Like that was a great weekend for me. I avenged like 3 losses on the way to the finals. Beat guys that I'd never beat before. So I'm riding high, and then he just ragdolls me. I'm like, well, there's the next ceiling that I need to get to.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about your experience now with Jiu Jitsu and what that looks like for Elevate as a whole. Where do you guys, what's your overall like teaching philosophy on Jiu Jitsu, and then kind of how are you gonna demonstrate the differences between like practical, right? The stuff that we drill versus real life scenarios and how you might actually apply it in a real life scenario type thing. Are you guys, is that a focus of your guys's and how so?
So as far as my experience with jiu-jitsu, I mentioned a little bit, I used it to kind of fill the void that wrestling left. I've been doing it now for a little over 10 years. And it's one, I'll never proclaim that I'm the end all be all in anything, wrestling or jiu-jitsu. I hope that people are attracted to Elevate's jiu-jitsu program enough to where world level people can come in and beat the snot out of me, so I can learn from them.
For sure.
Ego is left at the door as far as Elevate jiu-jitsu is concerned. That's a big philosophy for me. I'm currently a brown belt. I'm still working towards my black belt. So I'm a student of the game while teaching at the same time. So like I said, I'll never say that.
So you're a brown belt now.
Yeah.
Going for your black. Okay.
Yeah. But as far as like my teaching philosophy, I lean a lot on my wrestling background. Obviously, it's always there if I need it. So I'm definitely I want to teach people how to wrestle during these jiu-jitsu classes. I want people to know how to take someone down while at the same time learning guard positions, how to play lapel guard, how to do de la hiva, all the different types of guards you can play while sitting. So I think to answer your question about like self-defense versus sport jiu-jitsu, I think the fact that we have such a strong core of wrestlers at Elevate that can dictate the position. I know, Joe, you mentioned Joe Rogan's philosophy of wrestling dictates so much. Whether it's a self-defense situation or a sport jiu-jitsu situation, we have the ability to teach people how to dictate those positions. Whether if you don't want them to take you down, great. Sprawl, force them to play bottom. If they want to try to take you down, you're going to be able to defend it. And I think that applies to a real life scenario as well. Sure. And even if someone is, very technical, very good with, the ground game, being in whatever guard they want to, the base of a wrestler is very hard to break. And me being a wrestler, I know a few moves that can break that base. So there's been plenty of times where I've went to a jiu-jitsu tournament and been out wrestled. Someone surprised, they shoot a single leg. I'm like, whoa, I didn't expect that. They're in on my legs. So there's a few things you can do from a jiu-jitsu aspect to nullify that, to knock them off their base. And so we're going to have a good balance of wrestling and jiu-jitsu, blending it together to give people the best product that we can.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then what is your guys' vision for it? Do you, how often do you guys expect to have classes? I know you guys said you guys are opening up March 15th. Have you talked about what that's going to look like, what a membership to that's going to look like? How many times a week you're going to be doing this? Let's hear some of those things that you guys have discussed.
Yeah. So right now the tentative schedule would be Mondays. So we do Mondays and Wednesdays from 6:30 to 7:45, and then Tuesdays
AM, correct?
AM,
Sorry.
and then Tuesdays, Thursdays, 5:30 to 6:45, and then Saturday 10 o'clock to 11:30.
Okay.
Right now. So we're kind of restricting the amount of sessions that we have right now because we really want to see, how filled up these sessions we can get. Then as soon as we have enough people that are interested, we have the members and everything, well, the easiest thing to do is just add another session, right? So we can add in a Tuesday morning, or maybe we add in an afternoon session. If the demand is there, right, we'll open it up. But those are the 5 sessions that we have currently. I mean, we've talked about doing a wrestle jutsu kind of thing as well, maybe later and everything. But I don't know. I mean, we're taking this seriously, right? Well, I mean, we want this thing to grow. We're doing it the right way. And we have a lot of buy-in from a lot of different people. And then it's going to be a lot of just marketing, word of mouth, and just getting people to really buy in and, tell a friend, and they bring a friend, and then, hey, the local, police department, they bring in 5 people. That's just how it works.
Sure.
And that's how we're going to grow. And we really lean on our social media and word of mouth to really grow this thing. I think we have without even starting, we have an amazing product. We have the space, we have the mats, we have, John's obviously very good. We're going to have a core of wrestlers that are already going to be starting, So I'm really excited about it. I think it's going to be pretty awesome, to be honest.
For sure. I mean, I was excited about it just to see somebody bringing it in, and you guys are in a good location there up in the Bueller's Plaza.
Yeah.
Where's going to go with the next question? Are you guys going to plan, or are you able to do a belt transition for people? Are you guys going to be able to track their progress and graduate them belts? Is that something that you're able to do now, not able to do? I don't know how that process works for
Yes. So at this point, I'm able to promote someone to the level below me at this point. And depending on different schools of thought, even at a black belt, there are certain stipulations that you have to meet before you can even promote to black belt. So there's a couple different schools of thought with it. But no, currently, I would be able to promote to a purple belt. Currently,
which is what, 4th, I think.
So white, blue, purple, and then brown, and then black.
Okay.
And there are also degrees in between. So typically, there are, you may see people with stripes to their belt on the black bar, and you got 1, 2, 3, 4 degrees typically between each belt. So sometimes a promotion can be a stripe, 2 stripes, or a full belt.
Gotcha.
What's
that process? What's that process look like for somebody when they're doing that? Is it, do they have to do a certain amount of skills? Do they have to actually do something live? I'm not familiar with that process.
It's school to school, teacher to teacher kind of a thing. There are curriculums that have been set up by other far larger schools.
Sure.
Our curriculum, you can see it on our website. Really, we're looking at people that are able to take the technique that's been taught, apply it then and there, with some coaching, obviously. They have a grasp of the technique. And then after having that technique taught, maybe a couple months down the road, we review it. Are they still able to apply it? And can they apply it in a live situation? Like when we do live goes, do we see students hitting the sweeps that we've taught previously?
Sure.
I'm not necessarily looking for anything specific during the live rolls, But if I see someone and they hit a sweep or a submission that I had taught previously and I know I hadn't gone over it in a while, obviously something has sunk in. They've progressed to that next level.
Gotcha.
Especially in a live scenario. Because, I mean, you can hit any move you want in a drill, and it's going to be pretty, it's going to be perfect. But if you have someone else fighting you, if you have someone else taking you down, ragdolling you, and you're still able to hit that move, that clearly demonstrates that something's been sunk in, and you've reached that next level. And just consistency on top of that as well, and handling priorities outside. Anyone that I promote, anyone that is under our school's name, I want to have everything they need to, not just jiu-jitsu wise or grappling wise under control, but are they a good person? Are they nice? Do they help people in the class?
Right.
You know, or if someone's going in on a blast double and they see they're about to run into another set of people, are they going, hey, stop. Are they blocking their training partners from getting injured kind of thing?
Right.
And just
So-
FYI that, I'm sorry.
No, good. I was just
Just to
saying.
go off that train of thought, like when I was talking earlier about like how the comparison between jiu-jitsu and wrestling, how they get compared a lot, right? And it's for good and bad reasons, right? One of the things I do think like jiu-jitsu, like wrestling, actually Ohio State did adopt was the type of belt promotion. Now we don't wear belts in wrestling, but you know, Ohio State did what was it, the black shirt and stuff like that. Like I think that is really, really interesting that wrestling neglects like a type of ranking, a type of promotion, because it gets you really energized to be able to want to be better. It's like I don't know, like
We have those titles of All-American, but once you're out of your eligibility, unless you go the route that Dave did and pursue that, like
There's nothing to share.
in my case, I can't get another ranking beyond that All-American status, and I would like to continue to progress in wrestling, just like Dave did, but just I wasn't at that level. But I'd still like to progress or see my progress.
Yeah, but that's one thing I think like a lot of places, and honestly, like again, something that we may even adopt in the wrestling sphere would be because we like Elevate, we do things a little bit differently than a lot of other places, at least locally.
Share what you mean by that.
So again, we're non-school affiliated, right? So we have our own building, we have our own space, so we can dictate times and spaces and everything like that, right? So, and we're very much, we're a business too, right? So like, we're not like we're running that out of, Copley High School or Highland High School and stuff like that, right? So in order to do these things, we have to be able to, get coaches, we're going to competitions and stuff like that. So there are other places around the country that actually have this, right? So you have like Perler Wrestling Academy in Missouri who does really, really well with this stuff. Not that we want to be Perler, but like they already have like the game plan and the schematic to follow. Pursuit Wrestling down in Columbus, who we affiliate with, that's like, I would say probably, I don't know, the poster child of like Ohio, of club wrestling right now and how they do it. Like they have a nice website. They have, everything is kind of like jiu-jitsu, you're on a membership. They do the competitions, stuff like that. Everything makes a lot of sense with them. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like the schematic we want to follow and stuff like that.
So does you mentioned, I just want to ask you, you mentioned obviously you have a membership fee. That includes when you guys go to tournaments, or are they paying above and beyond that fee? Or is that like, hey, you're on our team for X amount of dollars a month and you're going to do these tournaments with us? How does that play
For
out?
jiu-jitsu?
Well, for either, I guess, for
Yeah,
wrestling.
I
Because you guys are
mean-
both planning on having competitions. Like you guys are going to attend competitions, I would assume.
Yeah, I mean, it depends. Like, if we go to, if we're trying to do like a Team USA, like Ohio Wrestling or something, we want to do freestyle stuff like that. They have their own individual fee, right? So the member would end up having to pay that.
Right.
If we were to do like a big team trip or something like that, that's something we would talk about as a coaching staff to try and make it manageable for everybody.
Sure.
We're not quite there yet to do like
Gotcha.
a big team trip and stuff like that. We're really trying to focus on like some of these local tournaments. Freestyle's gonna be probably our bigger one, just with Dave and his accolades and stuff.
Sure.
And really trying to hit like those tournaments and stuff,
Now, Dave, do you do all the coaching for wrestling right now?
I do a lot of it. I don't do all of it. Right now we have Ryan Orr and Brett Blaze. How you say it? Yeah, he does the they're helping out the beginner youth.
Gotcha. Well, that was the other thing I was going to ask. The classes that you guys have set up for jiu-jitsu, morning, evening, are those just going to be anybody that wants to come? Or are you going to, is it 18 and older? Is it, doesn't matter? Skill set, is that going to play a factor?
So at this point, we've got it set at 16 and up or 17 and up.
17 right
And at that point, if they are under 18, they would need a slip signed by a parent. But no, at this time, we, like Chris said, we want to start small and then fill the gaps, and don't start too big and then have to pull back.
Sure.
So the kids program is going to be something we look at if we get that demand, if we get enough questions, if we get enough help with coaches, because this is something that we all love to do, but Elevate is not our day jobs at this point. So we can't, I guess, extend ourselves past our means at this point.
So what is everybody's day job here, by the way? We didn't even get into that.
Oh,
I know mortgage banker.
Yeah. Yep.
I work at Liberty Ford Service.
Yeah.
Service and parts.
All right.
I'm a firefighter medic.
Firefighter medic. We did talk about that a little bit. So yeah. So obviously you're putting your body at risk all the time, and then you're getting to come do it. How do the companies that you work for feel about this being your side gig?
There's a bunch of guys. There's a nice overlap with police and fire that do quite a bit of grappling, MMA. There's it's just that attraction, I guess.
Sure.
Between the career and the sport.
Well, it's a great way to stay in shape too. I mean,
Yeah.
let's be honest. I mean, if you don't want to go to the gym and work out and lift weights every single day, like rolling around for 30 minutes with like
The heart
30-second
rate spikes,
breaks
yeah.
between 3-minute is like exhausting
Yeah.
to no get out.
So it's everyone that I talk to. It's just like, just don't get hurt. Just as long as you don't get hurt, it's good. So yeah, it's well received. It's well received.
What about you?
That's actually a hard question to answer for some reason. Like it's kind of all over the place with that. There is a lot of support. A couple people in the company are former wrestlers, and they love it. They know about Elevate. Randomly, one of the tech masters, his kids live in Medina, and he wants to bring his kids up, but it's all over the place. Some people, I don't even think they know about it, and other people don't understand it, but mostly it's been positive.
They're not like they don't
really
know who you are, and you're like, I'm kind of a big deal. You don't know me.
It's kind of I don't talk. First of all, so Liberty has several locations. So I worked at Brunswick. Everybody there knew about the wrestling and everything. At Aurora, kind of the same thing. And at Parma, it's just kind of different right now. I'm at Parma, and I don't really talk about it. So I know that they don't wrestle or have kids that wrestle, but yeah, the ear gives it away for me. They definitely know I wrestled and everything, and they know I coach. So
Right. Well, that's cool.
yeah.
And then obviously your company backed you along this, or knows about it, or don't really.
Yeah, I mean, so when we started Elevate, I was at a different company. They were totally fine with it. And then, when I switched over to my new company, they were in full support, right? As long as I can manage what I'm doing now with Elevate, it's not a big deal, right? I mean, my thing with Elevate is, I wanted to create, and Dave and I wanted to create this, and it's a huge passion project. Like, I can't tell you how many hours that we spent on building this thing. Like, and we laugh about ChatGPT. It is funny. Like, that is, yes, a thing. But like, we put so much time and so much effort into even getting the foundation of this thing like done, that like, I didn't want to wake up being like 50, 60 years old and being, I wish I did that. Like, there was that opportunity with Dave when I was in my 20s, and like, man, I should have taken that, So I don't like regret any of that stuff. Like all that time and effort we put in, because it is hard. Like it is hard to manage. Like, we all have families. Like Dave has a family, Jon and I have a family, multiple kids and stuff, jobs. So it is very difficult to be able to manage everything. But like, with our families in the community, like everyone's in full support and everything. So it's like, it's just an awesome, like it gets me fired up to think like what we can achieve, what we will achieve, and what we have already achieved. And not even being a full year into this, right? So like I'm really big on just like fulfilling your dreams, and if you like want to do something in life, you have to go get it. Like don't wait for the regret to come in. So like I don't know, I'm just kind of rambling, I guess, but like that's just kind of how I feel like about this whole thing, you know.
And I didn't see everything that went into it, you know, that these two did. When Chris contacted me about it, I immediately looked up I didn't know about Elevate. I hadn't, you know, it hadn't come on my radar at that point because I was so into Jiu Jitsu. I was a little removed from wrestling. And when I saw it and what he proposed to me, I thought I told, you know, I'm pretty sure I pretty much went to my wife and said, I just got a golden ticket. Like these guys have this 4,300 square foot mat space. I grew up wrestling. I love wrestling. I still utilize wrestling all the time in jiu-jitsu, and they want me to help teach jiu-jitsu. Like they opened this huge door for me to be able to do something very cool.
Was this something you even expected to do? No. Was this even on your radar of like future to do this? Yeah.
No, this was something that totally through the sport of wrestling and that camaraderie and just who knows who and who competed with who. I mean, I knew Chris, like he said, we were in each other's orbit. I coached at Otterbein for a little bit, and he smacked one of my wrestlers around at Otterbein, so I knew him from there. But then all of a sudden, I'm talking to him on the phone, and like it just so.
It's just kind of funny how life works.
I'm
like
gushing
that.
because thanks to them, I get to have a passion project too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's funny you mentioned passion, and you guys are all younger guys. How age?
32.
32.
33.
28.
28. So I just had a gentleman that was on here not too long ago reach out to me today, and he goes, "Hey, I just noticed that your private Facebook account was, Will M doing better the next 40 or something like that." He's like, "What would you have done better? And what are you doing better than you did your first 40 years or whatever?" And I was like, dude, first of all, spent less time at the bar, or at least less money at the bar. I would have traveled a hell of a lot more. Like whether it was me, a backpack and shorts and t-shirts, and that's it. Getting a flight and living in a hostel for 3 or 4 days just to see the world, I would have done that. And I was like, two, like if you're passionate about something, like don't ever tell anybody to like, don't fuck risk. Like when you're in your 20s, late 20s, like risk is like such a minor. Now, obviously you've got a family now, so you got to manage that a little bit. But people will tell you like, oh, you don't need to do all that, or you don't need to spend all your money on this, or you're wasting your time. You're not like, screw that. If it's something that you're passionate about, you're passionate will find the funds to fund the passion. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that, and it's also like surrounding yourself with good people too.
Yes.
Like, I put a lot of my wife supports me a ton, and with
she'd have to. I mean, you got to be gone a lot.
Yeah, and like that's never a fun thing when you're away from your family, right? Like, to be able to do what I want, it's selfishly, right? Like I want to be able to create, this passion project and stuff. And sometimes that means my wife has to be able to take up the burden, of watching the kids and stuff like that. So like, it's never like I'm doing everything, right? Like there are a lot of people behind the scenes that are helping that don't always get the credit they should, know? So like when people look at Elevate in in a couple of years, they may see Dave, John, and I like at the helm of this and be like, wow, look at that. Like they were able to get that. Like, no, dude, like this was very difficult. There were a lot of people that were involved in this to be able to make what we have, so.
And it could go either way, right? Because obviously at the beginning, and we don't have to get into, financially how you guys are, but in the beginning of any passion project, like even this podcast for us, like, oh, you spend all this time doing it, but it's not really paying the bills. It's not bringing it. No, but I'm hoping one day it'll do something, but either way, it's fun. Like I enjoy it. It's a hobby, but obviously you guys are running a business too. So, you hope that the return on investment's there, but at least, the biggest thing that I see with small businesses that fail, is that you buy a business just to buy a business, or you have a business just to have a business. Like if you're not there because it's like just something to have, it's not going to succeed. Like I know somebody that opened up a gym in Medina a couple of years back. Did it seemed like on a whim, had maybe best intentions, but like within a month, like they already hired people to work the door and stuff like that. And I'm like, it's your fucking gym. You should be here every day. And then they were training for a show, and they were training at another gym rather than their own. And I'm like, dude, who the fuck would want to ever go to your gym? You're not even passionate about your own gym.
Mm-hmm.
Like here you are training for a competition and you're not even doing it at your own gym.
Mm-hmm.
What is that like? So to me, that's the wrong person to have a business. Meanwhile, you might be, getting the mats ready, cleaning the mats yourself because you don't want to hire a janitor. So you're doing everything. You're there till 12 o'clock at night, or you're there till 6 o'clock on a Sunday. Then you show up at a podcast to try and promote it a little bit, and you don't get home to your family till 9, 10 o'clock. And she goes, "Well, what did you do today?" We're like, well, it was a slow day at the office, but I got a lot of you know what I mean? It's tough to battle that.
We're in a little bit better of a place than we were when we first started because Dave and I were doing every session together, dude. Like so when we got the lease. When we signed the lease and everything, that was March. We had a ton of renovation. Like I said, thank God we had people that were helping us because Dave and I, like we're
what did that look like when you guys first got what did that building even look like? I don't even know what it was before.
Yes, please. I even want to know. Like, what was this like?
It was shells because it was the title it was title boxing, right? Like back in, I don't even know when they opened, like 2016, 20.
Okay.
So they closed like right before COVID or whatever. I don't know the whole story like at all. Like I don't know why they closed.
Yeah, I forget that I was even there.
So
we're on this side of the town. We go to Giant Eagle.
Yeah, exactly. So for whatever reason, I mean, they closed up. So it was, I mean, if you look at the space, you can't like, how do you rezone it? Like it's not going to be, it's shell space, right? Like you're not going to put offices in it. You're not going to make a restaurant. So like you really have to have some type of physical activity to be able to do stuff like that, like wrestling, boxing, etc. So it sat for a long time. So when we picked it up in March of last year, I mean, by no means was it the worst thing. It wasn't the worst possible like deck like cards we could have been dealt, but we certainly had to repaint it. There were things that we had to tear down. I mean, it took a lot of work. I mean, Dave and I and again Sean and like a few others were there for like 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. while still working. And then when we opened up in April. I mean, dude, that was like what for 4 or 5 months. I mean, Dave wouldn't get home. Dave lives in Fairlawn, right? So like, Elevate's in Medina. Our last session ends at 8:10, Monday through Thursday. Well, you don't just pack up and leave at 8:10. There's a kid that comes up to you and says, "Hey, coach, can you show me what we went over today?" And you're like, "What are you going to tell him?" No,
right? So
you're going to be like, "Okay, all right, well, I'll help you with that." And then another kid comes up to you and they're like, okay, hey, can you show me this? And you're like, okay, yeah, okay. Well,
and then a parent comes up to you and you're like, hey, talk about what he's learned this week and where he needs to focus on.
And then there's a closing checklist, right? We have to mop the mats, make sure everything's clean, lock up. And then, it's, 9 o'clock by the time you end up leaving. So we're doing that for like 4 or 5 months, you know what I mean? Like to try and make sure that this thing is like doing well and stuff. So now that we're established, we're better, like, we have a coaching staff. We have dedicated coaches, people who are helping. It's a lot. We don't have to do that.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
what? Because that's a big thing. Anytime that you talk about jiu-jitsu or wrestling is the cleanliness of it, right? So what are some things that you guys do or that you've picked up from other gyms that you've been to that you try to make sure that you do in order to prevent from, obviously staph infections, a huge thing. And when it comes to rolling around on mats that, 40 other men have rolled around on that day. So what are some things that you guys do?
If you think you have something, the first thing is just don't show up.
Yeah.
The biggest thing is if you see a spot, if you see a pimple that maybe looks a little weird, don't show up. That's how things can spread. It could be nothing. It could be something. Just don't take the risk. And then as far as jiu-jitsu goes, and same thing with wrestling, immediately, if you can, shower. As soon as you can. Elevate is huge. This was like the selling point for me. Elevate has showers.
Oh, really? I didn't even know that.
Yeah, there's two showers. Two showers. And that right there was something that blew my mind. I was like, I've been to this many jiu-jitsu gyms, and the only one that had showers was when I went down to Florida to visit American Top Team.
Right.
Of course they have showers.
Sure.
But Elevate has 2 showers. So when we meet up to roll, it's just maybe me and Chris or maybe us and a few others. I'm showering there.
Yeah.
So those would be the 2 things. Just shower right away, wash your gi, wash your clothes, and just if you see something, don't roll.
Yeah. And then what about from the
mop the mats.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what about from a gym level?
I mean, before and after and stuff. Well, I mean, sometimes I go as far as just like we'll even like vacuum the mats because you mop it and then some of the germs kind of get spread out and everything. But we use high quality stuff. Defense soap, their stuff works amazing. So if we have to ever go above and beyond, right, we'll just vacuum it and stuff like that. Luckily, knock on wood, we've not had anybody have like an outbreak of staph or like.
Yeah, and I only bring it
so.
up because it's one of those things. Like
It is one of
I
those
told
things,
you, I
like a
did that
dirty
one.
gym.
Yeah, I did
Yeah.
you that. I did that one weekend there, and like the one advice that the guy told me is he's like, dude, if you want to find a great MMA gym, find one with a child care, and find one with a good child care department. Because if they have like a daycare center and it's very clean, then that means the rest of the gym's clean 9 out of 10 times. So I was just curious if there's certain things that you guys do to kind of go above and beyond, because that's always a concern.
It is kind of funny, like when Dave and I started, even during this thought process, we were like, how do we want to be different? Well, one of the points was like, we just want to be clean. We want to have a clean space.
Yeah.
And honestly, like not being biased, like Elevate's pretty clean. Like it's when you go in there, it's pretty clean. Not knocking anybody else, but like when I was growing up, when I went to clubs and stuff, like they're just gross. Like they were just gross places.
Sure.
And stuff. And you're like, you leave feeling disgusting. Like,
Yeah.
ugh, like I have to shower like right away,
Yeah.
or I'm gonna get like, ringworm ASAP.
He's like, you guys have no idea what dirty is. He's just got that look on his face. Is like, dude, what is he talking about? I wrestled in the back alley in some freaking foreign country.
Yeah.
There's it's not a very widespread belief, but there is a joke in submission grappling and jiu-jitsu that yes, wash your gi. Don't wash your belt though, because you'll wash away the knowledge. And it's a running joke now, but there have been over the years that for some people was like a held belief.
Yeah, just some
and
stanky belts.
It's just that's every training session, whoever you're rolling with. It's just wash your belts too.
Oh, that's funny.
So jiu-jitsu starts when?
That'll be March 15th.
March 15th.
Yeah.
10 a.m.
Yep, 10
So
a.m. Saturday.
what will those classes look like? Presumably you're going to have a lot of first timers coming in.
Yes. Yeah. So Saturdays are open mat. The Saturday that we're going to be starting with, it's going to be a lot of introductions, kind of similar to the one that you were at. Even the warm up itself, I want to make sure everyone's comfortable. I want to make sure everyone can understand the concepts, because a lot of the fundamental techniques of jiu-jitsu, I want to get people aware of and used to through the warm up. That way, when they do actually start to roll, they maybe they're maybe 1% better at that fundamental technique just through the warm up itself that they do every single class.
Yeah.
So our very first class, it's going to be kind of informal. It's going to be, hey, how are you? My name is this. My name's that. Try to get to know everybody. See what their experience is. I think I even asked you when you came in, hey, what kind of experience do you have with this? And it gives me a gauge of the room to see what I'm working with.
Well, and the other thing too, I think it helps, like because for instance, we start matching up right after warm-ups, right? And especially that time I went there, like I didn't know anybody in that room. Chris and I had recognized each other from the gym. I didn't even realize he was, one of the owners at that point in time. So like you go in, you're like, all right, well, who am I going to set up with? Like, people could look at me and be like, that guy looks like an asshole, or they could look over there and like we had one woman in our class, and obviously all the guys are like, so that's like that initial aspect of when you get to those is how do you at least knowing that like somebody's kind of what their experience is helps that you should pair up with this guy or you should pair up with this guy.
A lot of that's going to come with time, because like you said, we're going to have we attract a lot of we've attracted a lot of interest from former wrestlers. That's been something that's been really cool. So there are going to be people with grappling knowledge, and even, a lot of the Elevate wrestling coaches are going to participate as well.
Sure.
So they're going to have an aspect of grappling knowledge that will be really beneficial to someone newer. So what I like to do is if I can identify a few people that are more experienced in certain areas and that I can trust their skills, I want to try to match someone up, at least on the drilling aspect.
Yeah.
Match someone more experienced with someone not as experienced, because that more experienced person can translate what I've said maybe in a different way. Maybe they can say it even better than I did to this new person. And they can kind of be my eyes and guide that person up to their neck, through the technique. And if that's not there, I just make sure that I make sure I make my rounds to everyone hitting the technique, and I take a second and I watch what they're doing.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty great how you did that, because you're right. It does help once again, get back to the community. When I went and did that weekend thing down in Texas, I had somebody with me. His name was Austin, and he was, I think, a blue belt, but he was great at like walking me through, because while he was learning new techniques at this clinic, he had been doing jiu-jitsu for like 4 years or 3 years or something like that. So it was like nice to be able to lean on him. And then some of the stuff we'd have to be like, all right, let me figure this. We'll have to figure this out together, because obviously you're watching it and then you're drilling it. But yeah, I think that's a great aspect and a way to look at it. And I thought you did a great job of trying to move around the room and see everybody and make sure they were doing something right. And obviously that time goes so fast when you're in that mode, right? Like I think I even told you before I left, I was like, you know, this is supposed to end in like 10 minutes. I got to get going. But like, man, we only trained and drilled on 2 things, I think, at that point, and a warm up. But so that process starting out is slower.
It will streamline, because eventually that warm up, everyone is going to know it.
Right. They're warming up even before you get on the mat.
Exactly. And they're going to have those moves down. So that will streamline to where we're going to be able to do more than, you know, 1 technique, 2 techniques. We're going to be able to go live longer or do situational sparring that much longer. So that will be nice. I don't want to rush people into going live. I don't want to rush people into techniques that they're not familiar with, because that's how injuries happen. If someone is using this as a way to get in shape, I don't want them to get exhausted on that first day and think this is a mountain too high to climb. I want them to get to a base camp, get things figured out, and then we'll go to the next one from there. I tell everyone this that comes to Elevate or asks about it. I'm a hobbyist. I'm a hobbyist jiu-jitsu player. I had my fun wrestling. You know, I'm not the end all be all. I'm going to learn at the same pace that a lot of people will, and so I want to make sure people are comfortable in the training environment that I'm teaching in, regardless of their level of skill. And one thing that I think I really want to continue to do is that I think is missing from jiu-jitsu is, in the middle of demonstrating technique, ask someone what they think happens next. I asked a few people right in the middle, hey, do you remember what I did next? You know, what was that next move? Because I just think it reinforces it a little bit more, because it's very easy to sit there and watch and maybe just look off and then come back and maybe you miss something. But I'm not doing it to like single anyone out. I just want to see like where you're at as far as, do you remember what the next progression was?
I think that's a big point, because, you know, when you're training, you're drilling on something. If you've never done anything before, like there's a big path to learning what comes next after a move. But if you've got a wrestling base for, you know, especially with your guys' level of expertise in wrestling, and you can understand, you already know what the next move is, or you have an idea of where you need to go. You might not know the arm bar, you might not know whatever technique that you're training that day that you're drilling on, but you know what you need to do, which is, you know, it's easier with,
you know, it's kind of unfair, because if I get a wrestler, I know that they're going to have an understanding of body mechanics.
Yes.
They're going to know where they're at during scrambles and situations. That applies to jiu-jitsu. You know, the Granby roll in wrestling is you're essentially doing a cartwheel, and that happens all the time in jiu-jitsu when you invert. You know, you're essentially going on top of your head. So it helps to have a background, but it's not needed. Anyone can do jiu-jitsu. You could be 67 years old and never wrestled, never done any combat sport in your life, but you can grapple.
You hear that, Evan?
You can grapple, Evan.
We'll see you March 15th.
You sure you want this hairy body on the mat?
March 15th. Is that
I'm a very hairy guy.
Is that going to be gi or no gi?
So right now I'm targeting a no-gi session, but if anyone has a gi and they bring it, you know, we've got a couple loaner gis at the gym right now. So and I've got a bunch at home that I can bring too, that I'm probably going to. So if anyone, you know, if for whatever reason isn't clear on it, you know, we're going to have some gis that people can borrow too.
And for people that are brand new that have never rolled, what do you recommend they wear?
So if it's a no-gi session, think, you know, you don't want to wear anything loose, because you can get your fingers caught. You can get your arms caught. So think like a compression top. It's called, you know, a rash guard. If you're going to wear shorts, don't have shorts with pockets. Try to have a tighter fitting mesh short. I always wear a mouth guard, just because you got people's arms and feet facing you. You could, take a shot to the face. I don't want anyone to chip a tooth. If you don't want the cauliflower ear, you can wear a headgear if you want to. And then that's really all you need. You just need to have the tight fitting, attire, the rash guard, the shorts with no pockets. And then if you have a gi, the gi top, the pants, and the belt. And that's really all you need.
Don't worry, I'll just bring my camera. We're good. I'll just bring the camera. I'm just doing photos on the sidelines while everybody else is rolling around.
All right.
Pussy.
You guys have something to add down there? So are you taking some notes maybe or something? Or
No, just talking. Nothing crazy. I mean, this is awesome. It gives us a
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it gives us an outlet to really market our stuff. And we mentioned passion earlier. Like, all three of us have a huge passion for this. We really want it to grow. I mean, we're doing as much as we can, like putting our best effort while still having all of these other, spheres of life, right? And trying to build this thing. So we have big aspirations, man. Like, this is going to be huge. It really will be.
Hearing you say that, like, we talk about it all the time, David, myself, Evan, we're all obviously trying to grow this. And it's like, it never happens as fast as you want it to. But I feel like I feel like people can tell that you guys are genuine. You guys care. You guys want to grow,
and you're persistent.
I think that eventually that'll follow through, and you'll start to grow it. So, can we talk a little bit about membership pricing? Have you guys determined what that's going to look like, what it includes, just so that listeners kind of have an idea? What is it for the wrestling? My niece and nephew just got into it. They're 5 and 11, but so I'm sure my brother-in-law would love to get them in a clinic. What does that look like from both sides of it?
Yeah, I mean, so we operate on a no contracts,
Okay.
right? So a lot of people have, you're locked into a contract for for an amount of time, right? Where you
So you guys are
can't
like
break
month
it.
to month in that sense?
Yeah, so you can break the contract whenever you want and everything. So we also have different types. Like, if you wanted to do a 1 day, a 2 day, or an unlimited amount of sessions per week, that price varies as well, right? We throw in some discounts in there as well, depending on, if like you're, at least for Jiu Jitsu, if you're a public service member, or if you are a recent college graduate, or if you have a kid that's also already in the wrestling program, we mark discounts here and there as well.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Overall, so if somebody wants to do an unlimited, I'm assuming you guys pay by the month?
Yeah.
Unlimited for the month, what is that generally?
So we do 1 day a month, 1 day a week, which is 90, 2 days, which is 129, then unlimited is 149.
And that's for the month?
Yeah. Mhm.
Oh, wow. So, I mean, for 100, what do you say, 129, you can go 3 times a week, really?
So you can go two times a week. Yeah.
2 times a week?
Yeah,
for
2
the-
sessions a week. Yeah.
And
For
then
the month.
depending on if you qualify for those discounts, that would be
Yeah, additional savings that you could have.
right.
Yeah, that seems more than fair. I mean, and I mean, people pay that for one session in some places, I'm sure. So, David, you got anything else that you want to add before I get into some of this other stuff? Or we still got to see somebody at this table break that bat.
Yeah. No, I was looking at the website. You guys got a really good online store too. So for those out there looking for shirts, and I need one of these hats though. I'm a hat guy. There's
There's
is
your
right
guy.
there.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
yeah,
you guys
like-
gonna have to
like
come
you
out with your own
guys-
gi too.
Oh, throw some patches out there too. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, we'll definitely get some more merch. Yeah, a lot of the team shop stuff, like I said, I mentioned it earlier, Pursuit down in Columbus. They helped a lot of the startup. I mean, when I talk about people who have helped us even create this thing, it was kind of funny. Like, I just was, feeding my daughter once, like at night, and I just kind of thought of it like, hey, I've seen these guys on social media, Pursuit and everything. I'm like, I wonder if they could help us up here and stuff. And I just, literally just texted a buddy of a buddy who knew one of the owners there and stuff. And then, they ended up helping us a ton. They do all of our athletic apparel and everything. So been a huge help to us.
So do you guys use like a print on demand format, or do you guys have like all the stuff there in shop?
So Pursuit's down in Columbus. Like, we have certain merchandise at Elevate that you can purchase, but I mean, the problem with that is like if we end up buying like X amount of dollars worth of merchandise and it just sits for so long.
I'm right there with you. I asked for our own. I've started PO print on demand for us. That's why I asked if that's the direction
So
you guys are going. Or
there's stuff that's available. Like it usually ships within like a few, because it's in Columbus. You can get like next day or 2 day shipping.
oh, really? So
Yeah.
they print everything down there for you?
Yeah.
So what is that affiliation look like? How did that come about? Like,
So it was like,
are you able to share that or?
I mean, yeah, no, it's not a big deal. Like, it's just kind of funny. Like, you know, when Dave and I were talking, we're like, this is what we want it to be, but how do we even get there? Like, we know we want a website, we know we want merchandise, we know we want these things, but like, how do we get from where we're at right now to that? And Pursuit had already done a lot of this stuff. Like, that's like where we wanted to.
And that's the wrestling camp down in or
Columbus. Yeah. So again, like, my thought process was, you know, just, I don't know, just see if they could help us out. You know, I mean, what's the worst they could say is no, right?
Right.
So yeah, like literally, I coached when I was coaching at BW, I had Jacob Decatur, who's a national champ. He was roommates with, oh my gosh, with Bracken, who does like all of their stuff down there at Pursuit. They were roommates back when he was at Ohio State. So he had his number, and I was like, hey, just can you give me his number? And yeah, I just called Bracken up. I was like, hey, this is like what I want to do. Can you help me out? And yeah, long story short, they helped us a ton. So,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Evan, you got anything else, brother?
No, I'm pretty good.
I mean, I'm sure we'll definitely discuss this a little bit more. Got to hear a little bit about each of you guys. And we appreciate it. Now,
Yeah.
who's going to break this bet?
Yeah.
I'll give it a go. Let's do it.
All right. So hold on a second. Now, you brought this up to me, right? Chris is actually one of the reasons we have this here. He goes, yeah, ask Jon to break a bat on your show. And I was like, wait, with what? Like Hi-Ya karate? Like, what are you talking about? He's like, no, he's doing it with a figure four. I was like, that's awesome. He's like, maybe bring two. And I was like, oh, no. We're going to, like, he doesn't get a practice round. Like, what if he hurts himself on the first one? He's not going to be able to do it again.
Going into the bat, breaking the bat. How many times have you gone like to a competition and someone's like broken something or like dislocated legs, arms, like all you guys?
off.
Yeah,
There's plenty.
I just want to know because
plenty of videos on the internet
Yeah.
of that, people not tapping. Thankfully, I've not seen that in person.
Okay.
Everyone that I've ever competed against or that's, you know, beaten me, I'm quick to tap. I got a job to go to the next day. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So, like I said, hobbyist.
Not hobbyist. What was the worst injury you ever came across while we're on that subject?
On myself personally, or that I saw.
Yourself.
I don't know. This is a go one. I hurt my thumb. I never got it checked.
Oh, I hurt my thumb. I never got it checked.
It's broke or something. But, no, you know what? You know what? Knock on wood. I've been very. What?
You're gonna
I
get
know.
hurt
tomorrow.
I've been very blessed. The biggest thing I went through was you know, you kind of hurt your knees and stuff like that through wrestling. But I had a hernia surgery in high school. So that was
Stomach
painful.
or
It was low.
low?
It was rough, and they didn't give me mesh or anything. They said because I was young, and if I took time off, that it just that
did you heal?
yeah. And
Really, no mesh at
no,
all.
no mesh.
Jeez.
No mesh. There's a lot of funny stories off of it. They wouldn't let me carry a bag, which actually made sense because you could like kind of feel it. So I got to ride the elevator for the last like 2 months of school. At Ignatius, there's a common area and there's like brick, and I had like a suitcase that you wheel because I couldn't carry it, and lots of Ignatius, lots of classes and stuff. But like everybody knew where I was because you could hear my bag going. And then the wheels broke because there's so many bricks. After time, the wheels broke, so I was dragging it. Across the school. So then you really knew where I was. So.
That's hilarious. Everybody turns around like, what is going on? All right. So we're at that spot on the other side there. What we're going to do is, Evan, I'm going to have you, actually, I better not, we're going to rotate a couple of cameras and then I'm going to sit over here and watch because
And I'll plan a camera.
I don't want to catch a splinter in the
Yeah,
eye.
splitting the eyes and stuff. So we're all gonna be mounting stuff.
We're gonna hopefully I can edit this so that we can get the camera to show up. I think what I'll do is I'm gonna rotate one of that black.
And also rotate a light. Too.
Those who are sitting there on TikTok and want to see somebody break a bat with the figure 4, we're hoping it's gonna happen.
Yeah,
This is exciting. This is exciting. All right, let me take this off for a second.
I was doing it.
Now, do you need to do any
Yeah, that's the-
stretching or any warm ups?
That's the best part. He had no clue that he was going to do this until
go for it.
he showed up here, and I was like, "Oh," he's like, "What's the bat for?" or something. Well, about
Good time
that.
for a pee break too, right?
I at least got to
Let's do a pee break.
All right, are you ready to do this now?
Yeah, I'll give it. Let's do it.
Guys Night Podcast first. All right, John, are you ready? You're gonna break this bat in a figure 4, right? All right. We don't know what could happen, but here we go.
Ready?
Yeah. Oh no!
to get the Louisville Slugger.
I hear knees. Oh no! This is even better than him breaking on the first try. $49, well spent.
Oh, I can see it. Oh. Oh, dude, you're so close.
Oh no!
I'm gonna get it.
Do you want the towel to wrap it?
Yeah,
It's bent.
it is bad.
No, I think if you use the
All
towel
right,
to
give me
wrap
the
it.
towel. Give me the towel.
Throw in the towel. We're throwing in the towel.
Oh no, we're not
He's
throwing
like-
in the towel.
He's bent it like a damn good amount.
Well, at least I know that he can't necessarily just snap a freaking baseball bat in 2 seconds. I would definitely consider not rolling with him at that point.
Yeah, I would be like, no, that's not gonna happen. Get some cushion now.
This is all Chris's fault. He put all this pressure on you.
Come on, John. You got it.
Come on, come on, come on!
Come on. Roll with the bat.
Oh,
I don't think so.
He's still bent it.
at that thing.
I don't think so.
Get it all out.
I don't think I'm gonna break it.
Hey, that's still usable.
I appreciate the vote of confidence.
Dude.
Dude, you definitely gave it a fucking good tweak. Look at that.
Oh,
Oh, man.
sorry.
No, you're good.
I feel like you should just be able to be like,
Oh, yeah.
Gave it my best.
oh my gosh, dude.
He's gonna try it now.
It feels like it's just like fucking right there. I can almost hear the fucking.
The wood.
Yeah, I can hear it.
Let me try the left side and we'll see if I can.
Oh, Jackson was just breaking that shit.
Dude,
Done. Broke it over his head.
Oh, man.
Holy shit.
Go again.
come on, come on.
Maybe.
Dude, you can hear the
You can
fucking.
hear the fibers.
Yes!
You're just using the wrong side. There we go.
Oh man, that
There
was
we
sick.
go.
Wow.
How you feeling?
I feel. You know what? I'm glad I didn't quit.
Yes.
There you go.
Yes, dude, that was sick,
So,
man.
Elevate Jiu Jitsu if you want to learn how to break a bat.
Hey, you gotta keep that as a prop now. You gotta keep that as a
Yeah,
prop.
keep that bad boy.
Oh,
we
that
can put it in
was
the,
awesome.
we can put it in the podcast
Oh,
background.
dude, that's going in the background. That's not going anywhere
Yeah, that's
else.
not going. That's going.
Let's
right.
go.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Ultimate marketing
I
right
knew
there.
it.
Put him
I
on
knew
the
it.
spot.
She's broke the bat.
You only have to edit the last like 10 seconds.
Yeah,
No way, dude. That shows
Alright.
the grit and determination that you got out of your new coach there, dude. He sucked that up.
Wow.
You know it was getting to the
That's
point where he's
crazy.
like, oh.
Yeah. Who can I give this to? Because
I gotta get home. Thank you, Will.
Dude, that was awesome.
Guys, I appreciate it.
Yeah, here, let's hop on real quick. We'll just say goodnight, everybody. We'll do one quick follow-up. If you guys got Instagram accounts or anything that you need to shout out.
What? Hey, you guys know what Timu is?
Yeah.
I'll make the story as quick as possible. But
All right, well, here, hop over here real quick. We'll wrap this up.
Yeah. I put the other part of the bat there if you wanted it. I don't know.
How you feeling? You all right?
I am.
No, you can take that down, Evan. Don't worry about it. Is it still live?
Yeah, there's a lot of people.
Oh, all right. Are they commenting?
Yeah.
What are they saying?
Oh, I'm signing up now.
Yeah, elevate jiu-jitsu
Sign me
and
up.
wrestling.
I'm sure there was an ebb and a flow. This dude sucked. And now, there he got it. They probably tuned out before.
Honestly, I gotta say, like the fact that we would record the whole thing shows how real it was. Because like if somebody would just broke it, they would have been like, "Oh, it's not a big deal." Now they saw the struggle you went through, dude, and it definitely. I mean, that was impressive, dude. I really was starting to question if that was a good idea. So, all right, you had a quick story real quick.
Oh, I'll make it quick, but my coworker, you know, for Timu, I never knew what it was or anything, but he like has me click on this like link so he can get like a free spin on Timu. I'm like, what is this stuff, man? So then I got sucked into it, and like I spin the thing, and I hit like 7 free items on Timu, and I'm like, wow, I'm really lucky. And it's like, but you have to buy 3 things. I'm like over here buying socks and like chargers and stuff, and I'm like, what the hell? And then it said spin again, and I spinned again, and it's like, you win 14 things. Seriously, it's like, well, you got to buy another thing too. So anyway, the part of the story though is I got a text just now. My mom and wife were freaking out on me. They're like, you got to delete the app. My mom sent me like screenshots. She's like, it's gonna notify you every day. Like, get another free spin. So after John broke the bat, I got
addicted.
a Timu update. You know, but that's the whole story. But stay away from Timu.
That's awesome.
Stay away from Timu is bad.
I really hope you
Jiu-Jitsu
guys
is
keep
good.
that. Yeah.
This was definitely not a Timu bat. This was
No,
a legit
no.
Louisville
No,
slugger
I
right
went
here.
to Dunham Sports in Wadsworth, so shout out to them and shout out to the guys that help. I was like, I just need a wood bat. They're like, do you want like a quality one? Do you want? I was like, I want a good one, but I also don't want to spend a lot of money because we're gonna break it tonight in the podcast. And like within like 5 seconds, people are around like, wait, what? He's like, what podcast is this? I was like, Guys Night Podcast. I was like. So I handed them one of the cards. It's got his stuff on it. So hopefully they're watching. They can see that their bat went to good use.
Yeah.
But thank you very much to you guys.
thank you,
Yeah,
guys.
thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank
Social media accounts. How can guys get a hold of you? Women that want to get a hold of you? Because these are co-ed classes, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So where do they find you? Let's get all the deets.
Yeah, website, elevatewrestlingacademy.com, Instagram, Facebook, we building up the YouTube. But yeah,
Great.
if you have questions, you can contact us at contact at elevatewrestling.com.
Yeah, and if you guys wouldn't mind, after this, you've got my emails, or you've all got my email. Send me like a photo that you guys want to use for yourself, little description of your experience, stuff like that. We'll make sure we get that on the website. We'll link that to your guys' account as well, so that anybody that's seeing this wants to get into jiu-jitsu, or if you've got kids, nephews, nieces, grandkids, you want to get them into. Do something for a birthday or for Christmas or just because. Obviously, the Wrestling Academy is what started this all. I mean, it's not too often you get to train with a guy who was training for the Olympics, runner-up nationally for college and high school. So really impressive resume and 3 All-Americans. So anybody that can see this show can tell that you guys are great people as well. And I think that's a big part of the reason I was excited to have you guys on, because you guys got a passion that you're chasing, and you also just want to do good for the community. So thank you guys.
Thank you for having us. We're going to keep following you guys for sure.
Absolutely, man. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in.
Have a good night, guys.
Good night, everybody.